Before we go into the practice of the fountain and the first whole movement, I would like to clarify a little bit the movement of the release of balance, because remember that it involves the legs and the descending spring. And as you begin to practice and learn the movements, learn and practice the movements, and then you learn all the other movements that in the first section and other sections, every single movement that you will be learning, it will help you to understand more and more the movement that you just learn or just begin to practice, because they are all eventually for one reason only: to unite your connections of the 7 centers and assist you to be inside of the energy of the motion itself. Yeah? Wonderful. So remember that each movement, you can practice each movement by itself too. If you practice you can just practice unity in motion if you want the movement, and then practice many times each movement, because each movement begins and ends and ground to be one individual movement that you internalize, and then you add the second movement, and so on and on and on until you have the whole form. So you can practice any way you like it, as one at a time or 2 at a time, or any way that you feel useful to you. So in the movement of touching balance, I'm going to do it a little bit diagonal. The first thing is that as you begin to ascend through centers, begin to learn what that means. It means actually that you are experiencing through the centers that the center, your center of gravity or the center of expansion, becomes the center of the movement. And then as you ascend, you can begin to descend with the knees. So it's like you ascend at the same time that you bend in the knees. So it's not like you just go down with the legs, but it's the ascension give you the spiral. So the legs becomes like a spring more than just bending. Yeah? So, and that occurs because you begin to feel that the centers are the other side of the bending, or they are the internal direction from which the bending becomes a spring instead of just pushing down force. Yeah? That's the reason it's called descending, ascending springs. Now, when you start moving forward, what you begin to really understand now when you're moving forward is that as you bring in yourself, your arms are moving with you. The first part is like almost you are at the level of the heart moving with you. In order to avoid, because what happens is that when we start moving forward, I want to feel, okay, now I need to push and move and stretch forward. And what I'm really looking forward is to move with myself, move with all of me, in order to begin to allow that as I move with it, and especially when you start going in this direction even more forward, your arms are facilitating the spine to extend and release from it. Because remember that sometimes we think of movement as being like exercise, and when we think of exercise, we say, okay, now if I push it and stretch it, I really feel it, and if I really feel it, I'm doing something wonderful. In this unity in motion, no. We are not feeling it by pushing it. We are sensing it by moving and extending inside through it. So we begin to sense that the extension is really a release of the vertebrae more than a pulling and stretching them. Because if I do that, I mash the centers. And then it's okay, but I don't have any internal connection to relate to the center of space. Then center of space is just a thought, a concept. The center of space is this physical centralization of my being, and I need to begin to understand them, because that is what allows my vertebrae then to move as a spiral instead of moving as chunk, pressing upon chunks. Yeah? Wonderful. So once you begin the release of the first motion, the release of balance, you raise the energy through the pelvis, you bend the knees, and now when you get to this moment, right here in between the motion, I want you to feel that your arms are accompanying and extending very gently the spine, and you're touching the floor. And when you're touching the floor, you are not like pushing or extending, but just gently, it's like a circle. I'm a circle inside of the bending knees. So this is count 2. Yeah? So again, if I start in foundation, 1, and remember the first 2 counts is going into a moving diamond, from foundation to the level of central heart, around that level. Okay, so from here, 1, you see that level right there? And then when you get to here and your spine then start moving in this direction, as your knees very gently bending down, your arms extend like a wave, you see? Very gently, and then you're right to the floor, right there. And then when you touch the floor, this is count 2, you asymmetrically count 3 and 4, and now count 1 is still in the descending spring. Count 1 becomes the pelvic floor. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, infinity 2. So once you touch the floor, again, from here, 2, 3, 4, this is 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Remember, count 1 is foundation. The only complexity is the moving foundation because I'm still bending, you see? 2, 3, 4, 1, infinity, 2. And then 3, expansion 4, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah? Now, the reason that when you come back and you touch the floor, you bring your arms with you is to avoid to press down with the vertebrae to go up. Because for most of us, and usually when we do is that we press down to sense that we're going up. And in Unity in Motion, you don't press down to go up, you're open the space as you're moving to provide the release of the vertebrae. Yeah, so it's different. So from here, I enter asymmetrical to foundation, and now the ascending through the centers allow all the vertebrae to go up and bring me all the way to infinity before I go back to expansion, before I go back to crown. Yeah. So sometimes you can sense it a little bit, what it will be. What it will be from here if you just press down to go up. You will sense that you become like a ball down to sense that you're going up. And it's kind of strange because you mash the vertebrae to sense that you're extending. And then here we don't. We move through the vertebrae all the way up to descend and through the outer mandala. Okay? Wonderful. So, perfect.